this is our second preview for InfernoCon, with our main event being held October 2nd through the 4th. But tonight we thought we try to do another round just to give everyone out there just an idea of what to expect next month. And tonight's panel is From a Certain Point of View, Tough Questions and Even Tougher Troopers. And just like the name suggests, the questions I'm going to ask are going to test our guest knowledge, Star Wars related, in terms of armor and what they feel are the toughest Star Wars questions. But with all that being said, I'd like to introduce our special guest for the night, Mr. Dave Perdue.
Hi.
Mr. Randy Ward.
Hi.
Mr. Chris. And Mr. Jason Stanley.
Hello.
All right. And just like before, we do have a special link on our Twitch for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. All you have to do is click the link and take the rest from there. And we will be doing this for the duration of the panel. But with all that out of the way, let's get started. So the first question that I have is, what was your first costume and why did you choose it? And Dave, I'd like to start with you.
So the first costume that I had approved was an Imperial Staff Officer. And the reason I went with that one is because I'm pretty impatient. I'd been working on getting a Force Unleashed Shadow Guard kit done, approved, and submitted my photos, only to find out I had the wrong belt. So I had to find the right belt. And all this is going on. I see all the great pictures, all the events that everybody's doing. I really wanted to get in on it. I lucked out, found someone on the forums was selling their staff officer, so I scooped it up, got it approved, and I was able to get that in before my belt showed up.
Fantastic. Mr. Randy, how about you? What was your first costume?
Let's see. My first costume was actually a Rebel Legion costume. It was an X-Wing pilot. Had been sitting around for years watching what all the clubs do charity-wise, and saying one day I'm going to join them. First time I saw the 501st was in 1999, believe it or not. And my wife just said, "Shut up and build it." So but my first costume was an X-Wing pilot costume for the Rebel Legion. Obviously, I love that character. I love the X-Wing pilots. I always like the military aspects of the Star Wars world. So X-Wing versus TIE pilots. You know where you're going to find me on October 2nd when Squadrons comes out, because I'm going to be playing that pretty exclusively. So if you want to find me, I'll be in the basement for most of the month of October on that one. My first 501st costume was the opposite of that. It was a New Hope TIE pilot. So it was really my love of, X-Wing versus TIE fighters. That's been my love of the Star Wars galaxy, the ships versus the fighters. So obviously my first two costumes on the Rebel side was an X-Wing pilot, and on the Imperial side, a TIE pilot.
Fantastic. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I'm like Dave. My first 501st costume was a staff officer. I did the combo TIE Reserve, bridge crewman, out of the same jumpsuit. The first costume I started was a Mandalorian for the Mandalorian Mercs, but I didn't finish that one until much later than the Rebel Legion Jedi and the TIE Reserve.
Excellent. And Stan, how about yourself?
Oh, my very first costume was the one nearest and dearest to my heart right there with you guys probably normally see me as a TIE pilot, but my first costume was a Scout Trooper. Ever since I was a little kid, when Return of the Jedi came out, I just loved their look. I mean, just amazing. And I was friends with the guy who was in the 501st, and there was a gentleman who was selling his kit, and he let me know about it. And this is back when I was in the Ohio Garrison. And so it was like a drug deal, we made the arrangements, and it was dark at night. We met in Columbus in a parking lot, and we flashed each other the lights, gave each other the signal. And I think this was one of the first generation of approvable scouts, because whenever I would wear it, people would be, especially if any parts recent, like, "Oh, well, who's that maker?" And I'm like, "I have no idea." And I've never seen anyone else wear it, but I like the soft parts. I don't have any full armored costumes completed yet, but it's also been a great costume just as time as people have made ways to improve the kit. So one of those things you just keep constantly upgrading as things look better, and that's been a lot of fun. And then from there rolled into my second favorite, the TIE Pilot, and which even has better mobility for that. And then from that, I've rolled into the Imperial Gunner, which is my third approved costume that I have. And you just get spoiled being able to sit and walk around and use the restroom. It's a beautiful thing. but I am a Pathfinder at 51% at heart, and the other 49 is the TIE Pilot.
Yeah, you're able to brag about being able to sit down, because I went with the TK for my first costume, and that is one of the and that is the curse of being a stormtrooper, for me at least. But I think that actually leads a good lead into our next question. So Stan, what do you think is the most difficult aspect about wearing your costume?
I think the most difficult aspect of wearing the costume, other than, there's always going to be heat issues typically, which, and believe it or not, I think the Scout is probably one of the hottest costumes to wear, even though it's not hard. It's got layers and it's thick and quilted. And then, as you guys know, with most of the other costumes we have is, visibility. So it's not just your safety, but it's the safety of others around you, especially with dealing with small kids. So making sure that you have really good situational awareness, as well as your own comfort, as well as maintaining the look. And all three of those things don't necessarily go hand in hand with what we do, is we're trying to create that movie look. So it is a balance, but I think it's probably one of the hardest aspects between comfort, mobility, and visibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And Randy, I've sometimes seen you go through various costumes. Sometimes I can see your face, other times you are wearing something. So I imagine visibility is probably one of the difficult things for you.
Yeah, I mean, as Stan hit on, visibility is a major issue in any type of bucketed or masked characters. I am a 9 numb for the Rebel Legion, and at Soliston Mask is in various costumes of Rebel Legion and Dark Empire. Visibility is here. That's all I really have. Also, with any of the mask and helmets, it's not just cooling. If you don't have it vented right, the lenses are going to fog up on you. So anybody that's worn a TK or inside of 9 numb, inside the Soliston mask, they're glass. So any type of like glass stuff, it fogs up real quickly. So I mean, you mentioned cooling, staying cool inside the costumes. I mean, Imperial Black gets hot. The Gunner gets hot. The TIE Pilot gets hot. Stormtroopers have a lot of plastic on, they get hot. The latex doesn't breathe at all inside the mask, so cooling and ventilation and staying hydrated are the major things. Also, I always throw this out there, especially when we get into the Saber Guild stuff. Boots. Some people go buy boots they will pass CRL, they will pass the muster to get qualified and get your costume approved. But when you realize we're on con floors for hours and hours and hours, we're on parade routes for hours and hours and hours, or in Saber Guild, you are moving. You are actually doing choreography with them. Though, yeah, you might spend an extra $100 or so, $200 on a good pair of boots, but don't skimp on it, because your feet will scream at you at the end of your first troop. And everybody here is shaking their head because they know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm shaking too.
Chris is trying to avoid, because he doesn't want to talk about his costume. Chris, what are some difficulties you have?
I mean, the same thing that these guys have mentioned. Visibility is one of the hardest problems. Darth Nihilus is the most recent 501st costume I've done, and you've got tiny little eye slits in that thing, and you're literally wearing a stocking over your head to make yourself look completely black behind it. So not only do you have a tiny little hole, but you've got something in front of your eyes also. Yeah, that makes that very hard. You got to be careful when you're walking around, just, not running into little kids and tripping over things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Dave, I imagine one of the most recent costumes I saw you wear, you had your helmet on, and obviously you got to keep an eye out where people are. Are there any problems that you have that maybe the rest of the people haven't mentioned, or is it pretty much the same?
I was going to say that's where I cheat, right? I have a Force Unleashed Shadow Guard, and the great thing about that kit is I have a saber pike that's about 6 feet tall, and there's another 2-foot blade on the top of it. So I was at a Boy Scout blue and gold dinner. I think you were there, James. And as
Yes,
I was
I
trying
remember
to
that.
walk around, I had an 8.5-foot long light up blind man's cane that I just swung in front of me to keep the scouts out of my way. I mean, that's because with that, yeah, you see out like this, and for me, I can't see the ground until about 10 feet in front of me. So you just don't see anything. Yeah.
Right. No, and I think that's one of those things where when you have such limited visibility, it's always important to have someone with you to help guide where you need to go, make sure where
Yep.
steps are, make sure that you're not bumping into people and all that.
Having the handlers there, whether they're a squire or costume handler or whatever, having them there, and everything we talked about, not just to help you with the visibility, but to be watching you and making sure you're not about to pass out. There's not a kid at your 6 that you can't see. Yeah, that just shows the importance. And all of the clubs, doesn't matter if 501st Rebel Legion, everybody has the same rules. Have the handlers there. They provide a safety service, and I would say a safety necessity in that regard.
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate in that regard. My son ended up joining the Galactic Academy, and so he's been able to come out with me at the past couple of events. And he has we start him off with staff officer because he's growing, but having him there without having to deal with a mask and visibility issues, I mean,
Yep, absolutely. Always good to have someone with you with any and all troop that each of us may do. And we've done so many between all of us. But what do you think but between all of you, what do you think's been the hardest troop that you've done in all the troops that you've done? And how did you overcome it? And Chris, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Probably the physically hardest one. It was a May the 4th a couple of years ago where I did 4 events in one day, starting at like 8 a.m. So,
I remember that.
Yeah, I generally do a lot of events in that weekend. Just it's a lot of fun. There's so many Star Wars lovers out there. But yeah, I used Stormtrooper for 2 of the events and other costumes for the other 2. And yeah, that was exhausting. Staying hydrated, eating, taking breaks, and I wouldn't have been able to make it without that. And thankfully, I got to sit down for half an hour between each one, as I got to drive between them. But yeah, Stan was at one of those. That was pretty fun.
So Stan, would one of those troops be considered the hardest for you, or do you have something that could beat Chris's?
Well, physically, the Manning, I would have to say for me, that would have been the one Richmond Christmas parade that I had done. That for me, that's kind of like a been there, done that, got the T-shirt, because did probably over 5 miles total that day, like a mile to the staging area, and then the 3-mile walk, and then over a mile, to get back to your hotel. And that's where the value of good footwear comes into the place, because probably about halfway through it, and I was in a tie, so I'm wearing my East German boots that not great for back support, and the inside of my helmet, I had one of those construction headbands, was disintegrating. The bolts were falling off. I have screws falling down behind me. I'm looking through one little piece of bubble fish lens at that stage. Just happy just to make it alive. I was not moving that next day. So the porn's a good footwear, but mentally difficult, but also very rewarding is when Inferno had its first con at the Tyson's Gallery at the Ritz-Carlton there. So we're all excited. Our first time as a squad, putting on our own thing, and you're dealing with different personalities who all want to do something different, and you're trying to create the best impression that you can while dealing with resources that you were promised that you could have but ended up not having, and trying to make it look great for the fans and then have them not see any conflict or disagreements and whatnot. So the planning and staging of events, that adds a totally different aspect if you're in that stage of the game too. But I had a lot of fun. I got to hang out with the greatest American hero, so there's perks to doing these things as well. So it made it all worth it in the end, and I think most folks had a great time.
Fantastic. Dave, I know with you being relatively new, your number of troops may be less than some others here. But what's been the toughest troop for you, do you think?
That's really hard to say.
And it doesn't even have to be physical. It can be it can be emotional, spiritual.
I think the first troop I did was challenging insofar as it was a troop at the local library here. And the part that was hard about it is that it was myself, and we had a Jedi from the Rebel Legion. So I'd never been at an event before, and here I am, no idea what to do. But that was, it was a really low-key event, which was good, but that was challenging in amongst itself, just trying to figure out what it is I'm actually supposed to be doing without a whole lot of help and support from, it was fun. We had a good time.
Well,
Awesome. Trial by fire.
Well, just so you know, and for anyone who's about to do their first troop, if they join, know that you don't have to do it by yourself. You don't have to be alone on your first troop. There's always going to be someone who can assist you. But with that said, Randy, you juggling, with 501st and Saber Guild, and Rebel Legion, there's probably a whole bunch of events that are probably too much to count.
Yeah, that's the truth. When you ask the hardest troop, I'll put it into two categories: the physically hard and the emotionally hard. Physically hard, we've hit on them. It's hot. You're in a black costume. There's an event. I'm technically an Old Line Garrison member. So a lot of events in Maryland, but Saber Guild and Dark Empire are also the same area as Inferno. So everybody here I'm friends with regardless, because we all troop the same areas. There's an annual event. It's in September. Unfortunately, it was canceled this year. As you know, September can be nice or it can be hot. But it was a stand up to cancer event. So we love doing it. I was in my tie. I went out in my tie armor. I was only in it maybe 10 minutes before the armor came off, and I went to reserve, and I only lasted about another 20 minutes after that before I had to come out of it. It was probably in the 90s and humid, and it was like, I can't do this. Luckily, the coordinators, they had a trailer for us, water, and we were trying to do what we can to cycle people through. So there are the events that are physically demanding. On a con floor for 8 hours straight, you're in pain. Your back's hurting after a while. And everybody here, you have the armor on. That sound when you get back into the dressing room of the pop, you pop that snap off the armor and it lets go of the pressure, or you pop the Jedi belt off and you can hear it. We all make the same reaction in the changing rooms or back in the changing areas. We all do it because it's like that armor releases all the pressure. And Aaron Scare is the funniest one because you can hear people come in from their photo shifts and it's just like this pop, 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 pop. It's like you hear the snaps coming off of the armor.
Yeah. In the big room at the Smithsonian. Oh, yeah.
But going on to the emotional ones, we have the opportunity to do hospital troops all the time, but for me, it was the Ronald McDonald House. We had the opportunity to go to Ronald McDonald House up in Baltimore, and we met some kids there that, yeah, I'm glad I went in as my Soliston X-Wing pilot. So I had the mask on, and I'm glad that you couldn't see the emotions, because you were talking to these kids and you realized they had terminal diseases. They had diseases they were struggling with, and you were sitting there with their parents too. Everybody knows how the Ronald McDonald House works. It's families there too. So it's mom, dad, brother, sister, the whole family's there, and you can see their emotions. And you got to stay in character and make that kid smile. There was one young man that, we still stay in contact with him. He found out that his favorite character was Darth Maul. And we came back a few months later, the next time he was back for treatments, and we went all Sith on him. We had somebody from Virginia come up as Darth Maul. I missed it. Apparently, 2 members of Garrison Tyranus came up from Virginia, somebody as the Emperor and somebody as Maul. They already had the makeup on, and they stopped at a McDonald's. I wanted to see the picture of Maul and Palpatine at McDonald's. But the emotion that you saw with the kid there, his mom, I really advise anybody, if you're doing a hospital visit, if you're doing a Ronald McDonald House visit, if you're doing those and you don't have super control of your emotions, do it with a costume that has a bucket on it, because you can hide those emotions, stay in character. And remember, you're there to make them happy and feel good. And if you have to excuse yourself because you're getting emotional, go do that. Because there is aspects of trooping that, you get to see sometimes the worst in people's lives, and your job is to make them smile and bring a little of our galaxy to them. And, it's hard. It really is hard emotionally to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just as a reminder, for those joining in, we are still taking contributions for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. That can be found on our Twitch link. So if you want to click on that, that'd be most appreciated. But moving on, why don't we switch gears for a bit? So before we started this stream, we were talking about some of the Star Wars books that we've been reading in our spare time. One of them was From a Certain Point of View, and some of the short stories to be found in there. But I'm curious from some of you, are there any Star Wars related material that you consider to be a guilty pleasure? And this can be books, games, movies, TV shows, whatever you feel counts. And Randy, why don't we start with you?
This is my guilty pleasure. These are lightsabers are like an addicting drug. They I have I started with 2, now I have over 20, and they're my guilty pleasure because I always buy another one. Ooh, I don't have that one yet. I don't have that model yet. So some of them I wear with costumes, some of them just stay on a rack. I have one in the truck, I have one at my desk at work. I have ones for performances, ones for trooping, ones. So this is the guilty pleasure, is collecting lightsabers. Anybody that works with engineering or electronics or machining, some of them get really intricate. You can get into the acid etching on them to make them really custom. Then you can get into all the software and electronics on them, to how you deal with the LEDs and the blades. Obviously, as a Saber Guild member, I have several different ones that are used for performance reasons. This is just the one I had at my desk. This is my latest toy. So but that's my guilty pleasure inside of Star Wars, is the lightsaber collection.
Oh, wow. And those aren't like the sabers you can make it like Galaxy's Edge.
I have one of those too.
Oh.
I have some of those too. It just depends what you want to do with them. If you want the long lecture, we'll save that for the Saber Guild lecture at InfernoCon. Lightsabers are like cars. You can go from the workhorse F-150 to the fully loaded Maybach if you wanted to go that expensive on them.
Oh, well, that's amazing. Dave, how about you? Any guilty pleasure Star Wars related material?
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Lego, like ever since ever. I mean, I remember having a Lego set. It was a fire truck. It was a fire car, and the Lego minifigure was one of the old school ones that didn't even have arms on it. So I have a metric crap ton of Lego. And I say a metric crap ton because that is actually more than an English crap ton of Lego. I've got, in my office, I have 5 ginormous plastic bins of Lego that I need to put in the basement to make room for the stack of purchased unassembled Lego that I can go ahead and yeah.
And
Yeah, we have way too much Lego.
I wish I had the time, money, and space for that much Lego.
Yeah.
Chris, how about yourself? What are some guilty pleasure Star Wars material?
Anything
Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
You don't need to feel guilty about that.
Not at all. No, I definitely have I have him everywhere. And
What's
if I
he
see
wearing?
Something else. He is wearing a one-of-a-kind Galactic Academy t-shirt.
Oh, that's
Nice.
that is adorable.
Highly coveted.
They wear size 0 to 3 months, if you're curious.
Hold on, let me get that written down.
That's definitely mine.
Oh,
Yeah, I buying toys for my kids has been kind of our thing. It's only been the last couple of years I've really started collecting now that my kids are older. So, but I have a huge collection of Baby Yoda things now, and I love it.
Man.
He's all over
The
my desk at
animatronic
work.
one already?
What's that?
Did you order the animatronic one that comes out?
I have not ordered it yet. No.
Notice he said yet.
Yeah.
It will happen.
that's the key word right there. And Stan, how about you?
I think the one that probably gets me in the most trouble. Fortunately, my wife is fairly understanding about the passion that is Star Wars, but I got it bad for helmets, and I have to assure that every time I get a helmet that there's not necessarily going to be a costume going with it, but nor would I ever close that door. I'm a young man. I still need to keep my options open on these things. But yeah, I just, as you guys know, there's just so many cool looking helmets out there in the Star Wars universe. And, and it's fun, painting them. And, what's cool with the Rebel pilots, you almost got a blank canvas if you have an idea to get your creative juices flowing on those as well. And it's just so easy to keep going down that hole. But then you got to say, where am I going to put these things? So before you start, chasing that dragon, keep that in mind. But that's probably my worst thing, other than a lot of t-shirts.
Oh wow. Are you gonna wear it when you're playing Star Wars Squadrons when it comes out?
Oh, you know it.
People keep sending me that video of the people that have the 3D stuff on. I'm a PSVR guy, and it's like sensors. It's like, how can you put the helmet on with the sensors? I would do that if I could.
I don't know. Maybe EA will release like a special helmet variant.
Just upsize it from 3D printing. Boom.
Yeah,
I gotta find the file for it though. It's the sensors on it, but
wow. Yeah. No, for all the Star Wars stuff that we have out there, like we each all have our guilty pleasure. I think mine personally is I've been into trying to find like old obscure Star Wars games.
Right.
One I downloaded, I don't know if you guys ever played it. I probably wouldn't recommend it. It's called Yoda Stories.
Oh.
No.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, so Yoda Stories, it plays kind of like an old Windows game, kind of like Chips Challenge. Like they advertise it as just a time killer. And look up like gameplay footage. Like it's very unexciting. But I can kind of see the appeal of why someone might want it. Like you're not playing it for the story, you're playing it in the office just to kill the last hour.
Okay, so you like old Star Wars games. Did you ever play Star Wars Rebellion?
Oh yeah.
I did not play. I did not. Was that the RTS, or am I thinking of? I didn't play.
No. So Rebellion, you had you could either be the Empire or the Rebellion. You start with a big galaxy map. You'd have to go
Oh,
through colonized systems.
like Civilization.
Yep, kind of.
I
Oh,
didn't play. I didn't play
kind
that
of.
one. I played Galactic Battlegrounds, which is the Age
Mhm.
of Empires Star
Yep.
Wars. Um, oh man, put so many hours into that. Um, wow, yeah. Whew. Holy flashback. Yeah. So, but with all that being said, now if there was, so there's a whole slew of Star Wars movies. Like I think we're up to like 11 right now, or 12 if you count the Clone Wars movie. I don't know if you guys do.
Yeah.
Sure.
Are you
Okay.
counting the Ewok Adventures?
No.
We
No.
I'm did it play in theaters?
I don't think it did. I think it was only like on Sunday night special, like ABC movie night or something back in the 80s. But I have it on DVD.
No, I'm no, I'm ref- no, I think for this question we're going to be sticking with the main theatrical releases, not not the kind where you spend $12 for, or
Holiday special is not in this question.
no, can you imagine? No, can you imagine the holiday special in theaters?
I'd pay money to see it.
Oh
Maybe as
God,
like a
no.
midnight movie, like Rocky Horror. But we're
It would
getting
be
off
horrible.
topic. But we're
Horror is
getting off
right.
topic. Okay, now if there was only one Star Wars movie that you could watch for the rest of your life, what do you think would be your choice? And Dave, we can start with you.
Oh, that's an easy one. Empire Strikes Back. I'm a huge Boba Fett fan, and so that's really where you see him first. Um, and it is my favorite military history documentary. I mean, it was 100% true. It's not, propaganda like, Return of the Jedi and New Hope and the rest of that trash. No, it it is my favorite, and the reason of the original trilogy is darker, but if you look at everything they lose, right? Luke loses a hand, they lose Han, the rebellion just gets crushed at Hoth, they're scattered. But at the end of the movie, it ends on hope. And I always thought that was really good, and that was important, right? The last scene, you've got, Luke has his mechanical hands, he and Leia stand there with the droids. Chewie and Lando take off in the Falcon, and they have a plan to go get Han, and it just ends really upbeat, which with everything that they've gone through up until that, I just always liked.
Yeah, no, I hear, I agree. Stan, how about you?
Yeah, that's a tough question. There's like three that pop into my mind, but since Empire's already been taken, I toss up either between episode 3 or Rogue One, but I might go episode 3 because, well, one, I'm not ashamed. I actually like the prequels. So full disclosure right there. But it's just the culmination, the building up of this hero who's been through so much and sacrificed so much, and things started off very rough, just as a child, and work is all the way up, and then that hero falls, and he thinks he's doing the right thing, trying to do the noble thing, and in trying to do that he loses his soul, and everything that was built around it is a lie, but he still clings to that. And it's just, Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, he's just such a tragic figure. And those kind of things just always appealed to me. I don't know if because I have a dark soul myself or what have you, but it just, and the more I watch it, and the more the details that I see and the anguish and the agony, that goes through, and you put that with the audiobook, because the audiobook can give in the more details that you wish you could have had in the movie. It is just so tragic, but at the same time there is that little bit of hope at the end, for a brighter future, that's hinted at. So even though things might seem very dark, the sun will rise another day with that. And and of course it's got clones, so, which are my favorite type of trooper, as long as I don't have to make it, which I've been working on one since 2012. But yeah, if I had to watch one, and I keep finding myself going back to episode 3 is one I just like to watch. Though I love almost all the Star Wars movies, but yeah, that's one I keep going back to.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with, Clone Wars wrapping up. Like, you watch episode 3 now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like everything changes. Like, if you've watched the entire Clone Wars series.
Emotionally compromised is all I can say, when that's all said and done.
Oh, that final scene in Clone Wars was just, I was crying. I'll admit, I was crying.
No shame. No shame.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Chris, what do you think would be your one Star Wars movie?
It's probably not going to be a popular opinion, but I've been obsessed with episode 9 since it came out. You might understand it a little bit, but I loved finally getting to see Leia doing something with the Force. I loved seeing Leia's lightsaber. There were definitely things I didn't like about the movie, but I think that's said for all of them. And there were just so many emotional moments in that movie that, good and bad, that I think that was my favorite.
Wow. No, fantastic. And then Randy, you have last bidding.
Well, I'm going to kind of jump on a lot of the same themes Dave mentioned, but I'm not going to say Empire. I'm going to say Rogue One. For the same reasons, I love military history, military aviation history. It's just something I really enjoy. I grew up with my dad and grandpa watching war movies all the time. All the great World War II and Vietnam War movies that we, awards and accolades miles long about all those great movies. And what Rogue One gave us was a war movie, a military strategy / espionage / just all out battle movie. There were no Jedi. I mean, there was talks of the Jedi. There was talks about the Force, but there was no lightsaber fights or Force users. It was purely the military of the Rebellion and the Empire duking it out. And that was something that we were lacking in the Star Wars galaxy, in the movies. Now, some of the books have it. Some of the comic books have it. We've seen that. And even go back to the first thing we saw in 1977. It was a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships striking from an unknown base have won their first victory against the evil galactic empire. We have seen that for 40 plus years. But do we actually know how they did that? There wasn't really any novelization of how they got the plans. We know they got the plans.
Well, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure I played the game where Kyle Katarn gets the Death Star plans.
There was the game where Kyle Katarn got it, but there wasn't a big, drawn out stuff. And what Rogue One gave us was, and Star Wars is great about this, reflecting deeper thoughts. They didn't put in that it was black and white, Empire Rebels. They brought in the gray area of, okay, who's the terrorist? To the Empire or to the Rebellion? I mean, even Cassian said, we've done things for the Rebellion that we regret doing. Mm-hmm. But it brought in something. Another reason why I liked it, it was like going to see the movie Titanic back in '97. You knew the ship was going to sink. You knew the story. You knew how it's going to end. You knew how this was going to end. The plans were going to end up in Leia's hands. You knew that going into it. And you knew it was going to be a suicide mission for the characters. And they did such a great job with the character development of Jen and Cassian, even K2. great played character in there. You felt for them. They did such a great character development on that. But it all goes back to, why the first two costumes I did. It was, Empire versus Rebellion in a military strategy kind of situation. The Rebellion threw everything they had at them, and the Empire responded how they could. And that's why I love that movie. I can still watch that movie over and over again.
Well,
Yeah.
and what I love about Rogue One, Randy, is it puts A New Hope in a completely different perspective.
Yes.
I mean, you watch Lord Vader step through that doorway, you're like, oh snap. It's about to get real, right? Leia is standing up to him and is like, I'm on a diplomatic mission for Alderaan. We're like, he just watched you get the plans, and she has the audacity to straight up lie to his face. Mm-hmm. I mean, that whole first 30 minutes of 20 minutes of A New Hope just changed and got incredible. Yes. Based on what happened in Rogue One. Oh yeah, absolutely game changer.
It's just how they linked them. It was a masterpiece of how they linked those two together.
Yeah,
you knew how it was going to end. I mean, you knew what the ending was going to be, but it's how did they link them together? And I think they did such a great job on that. I would like to see more movies like that.
Yeah,
I mean, The Mandalorian's kind of hitting on that. It's a story inside of the Star Wars galaxy, but not part of the Skywalker saga. And that's what Rogue One did too. Mm-hmm. And it's still why it's one of my favorites. It's dark, it's gritty, I still love it. And it always will be my favorite. Not that I don't like any of the others. It's just, that's my favorite.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I definitely love to see more movies. Definitely more movies where you could put in a double feature and show them back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like I remember like back working in the movie theater, sometimes they'd have Lord of the Rings marathons where they'd show all three movies, at one time. Yeah, I think I saw like Rogue One like when I was working at the movie theater. I think I might have saw it like three times total, I want to say. So, and which was nice because I didn't have to pay for anything. Yeah, no, it was real nice. Yeah, I think it was real nice. Like I remember when Force Awakens came out, like I went to go see it like 7 times because I had the perks.
Yeah.
and because I had to keep taking family members who haven't seen it. Like I saw it like twice in one night by myself, and then my family wanted to see it, and then extended family wanted to see it. Like, all right. Like that's cool.
I think you took the record for how many times you saw them in the theaters, though.
In the theaters. Yeah,
I think you win that one.
Yeah. If I had more time, I would have seen the other Star Wars movies like that same amount of time, but life happens.
Yep.
But with movies out of the way, let's move to TV. And this question, whoever wants to answer first can go for it. Who do you think has the better Star Wars parody, Robot Chicken or Family Guy?
Can I have both?
What? Why both?
Kind of different animals, but I mean, but I love what Family Guy did, especially with the first Blue Harvest. Now, if you could show me a reel of all the Robot Chicken back to back to back to back, I think it'd be probably more of a fair fight. But yeah, what Seth MacFarlane did, I think, was just outstanding with his parodies, especially the first one. But yeah, both are great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I especially love Blue Harvest. Mm-hmm. Like that was probably my favorite growing up. Randy, how about you?
Between those two choices, I'm gonna have to say Family Guy, because I liked Family Guy when it was on, canceled, and back on. So yes. I've been a Family Guy fan for that long. I have to say Family Guy, but if you're thinking the TV genre, I'm gonna have to say the undercover boss on SNL, the SNL skits of Star Wars.
Okay.
Kylo Ren, Matt the Radar Technician.
Matt the Radar guy.
I think so. That's a masterpiece. sticking into just parodies in general, it's Spaceballs. It's the movie Spaceballs. You can't touch it. They mimicked everything. So I'm gonna have to say Family Guy, but SNL as well, plus Spaceballs.
No, those are great choices.
Merchandising.
Merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made. I should have widened the category a bit. Dave, how about you?
I gotta agree with Jason and Randy. I guess at first blush, I would go and say Family Guy. I mean, you've got a couple of just great episodes where they just parody the original trilogy really well. Robot Chicken does a great job with the quick hits, the little like 1 minute scene, the Emperor talking about the aluminum chicken or whatever he calls the Falcon, right? I mean, he's on the conference call with Darth Vader. It's those are just great scenes, great little quick hits, but unless you can really put a string of them together, I gotta go with Family Guy.
Wow, we got three Family Guys. Chris, how about you? Are you going to be the lone dissenter?
No, I'm with these guys. Family Guy was probably my favorite also. I didn't watch much of the other one other than clips here and there, so I'm definitely partial to that one.
Yep. Wow. So we got 4 Family Guy. But the Family Guy ones don't have Gary the Stormtrooper, and I love that guy.
No, but they have Meg as a space slug, and come on.
That's true.
So, yeah, she was a space slug in Empire. In the something dark side. She was the Dianaga in Blue Harvest.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to remember, what was she in It's a Trap? Because I haven't seen that one as much. Like, what's that?
Who was Jabba?
Jabba? That's a good question.
It was the cop, wasn't it?
Who, Joe?
Yeah.
Well, I know Joe was. I remember him being the probe droid in something dark side.
Right.
Yeah, and it was weird because like they threw in not just Family Guy but also American Dad and the Cleveland Show. If any of you watched that. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that probably It's a Trap isn't the most memorable out of the 3. Unless if you guys disagree.
I did enjoy seeing the Scout Troopers on 10 speeds. That was pretty epic.
That was good.
Yeah. I also did like the planes, trains, and automobiles reference with the Scout Walker. That I thought was good. Oh, well. So from the sound of things, we have a bunch of Family Guy fans, Family Guy Star Wars fans here. Now I wonder, do you think they should, or do you think they might be able to do ones of the prequels or sequels?
Oh, I absolutely think they should, and I'm personally disappointed by Seth MacFarlane that they haven't done it already. And if he's watching, and please, I hope he is, I am insulted he has not. I officially challenge him. He must.
Yeah, but I think he's. Yeah, I agree, but at the same time, like, he's busy with the Orville.
I love that show.
That's such a great show.
I love that show.
Well, in Blue Harvest and all those things, that was pre-Disney, right?
It was, yeah, and I think once the Disney bought out, I think that's probably what complicated things.
Yeah.
2011 is what I'm trying to figure out who Meg was. It's 2011 when it came out.
It was the Sarlacc.
That's it. That's it.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, we lost James.
Lost James audio.
Put another quarter in.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Don't know what happened. But no, like I was saying, like Disney now owns 20th Century Fox, so maybe something will happen.
You'd almost think it'd be easier to now. I mean, with Disney just owning everything. But I don't know.
Yep, soon they're gonna own this panel. Nah, we'll keep a good hold on it. Yeah. So I guess the last question, and this is for like more of for the members who probably in their respective organizations the longest. But if someone were to start the path of wanting to make their own costume to join one of our respective groups, what do you think should be the first thing they should do? And Randy, we can start with you since you are the jack of all trades when it comes to the various organizations.
Well, kind of the answer to that question is, what do you want to do? And it's what we've talked about on this panel, the different parts of the galaxy we're passionate about, different parts of the franchise. Star Wars is something different to different generations, to different people. There's aspects of the military side and the Force side and the bounty hunter side. There's so many different parts of the franchise and people gravitate to a certain part. So that it's a loaded question, but first question I always ask is, what do you want to do? What do you want to go make? And I've been asked this question at cons all the time. People come up because I want to join your clubs, but I don't know what I want to be, or I want to be this. And I was like, okay, you want to be this, go over, talk to that club right there. It's like, I want to be a Mandalorian. Okay, go talk to the Mercs. I want to be a Stormtrooper. Okay, go talk to the 501st. It's the first question you always want to ask is, what do you want to do? What are you passionate about? And then we can point them at the right club, the right detachment, the right build group to go start down that path, because there is something for everybody. And between all the clubs, all the major clubs, there is a detachment. There's probably a Facebook build group for that costume to go point you to.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, that sounds good. Yeah, Dave, what was one of the first things you did when you decided you wanted to start the path?
So totally agree with Randy. The first thing is it has to be a kit, a character, however you want to look at it, has to be something that you are absolutely passionate about. I mean, even if you go to pick a vendor, buy the complete kit, you're going to be waiting a while, right? I mean, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And I don't think that really matters what kit you get. Just to get it put together, get it approved, and then to go and wear it at troops and events. I mean, getting a character that you're passionate about, so that when you come at the end of that 5 mile walk for a 2 mile parade, that's still something that you want to do. You have to find that. And the other part is the research. I mean, you've got to research the kit and the costume, and not just the parts and pieces. Hey, what kit can I have? Black leather belt with the parallel horizontal ridges, with and without sizing holes, right? I mean, it's research from the standpoint that, okay, maybe the downside of a TK is I can't sit down, right? Or I may not be able to sit down. Do the research, try to find that stuff out ahead of time, so that you're not you put all the time and effort into a kit, and now you're like, nah, I don't want to wear it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, absolutely. I think definitely figuring out, what exactly you want to go as is probably one of the most important things. Chris, Stan, is there any bits of advice that you might have for any prospective costumers out there?
Yeah, I agree with these guys. You got to figure out what you want to do first, and then second, figure out how much you want to spend. Because there are generally multiple levels of spending that you can do on any given costume. If you don't want to spend a lot of money, but you've got some time to put into the work yourself, you can make it. It might require you to learn some skills that you didn't have before. But in general, I've definitely gone all out in a costume before. Fully made one like the Dark Nihilist that I bought, but I've also gone the other way around and made one completely from scratch and tried to make it as cheaply as possible. Especially when I was making one for my son and for his friend also at the same time. So, yeah, budget is just as important as what you want to do.
Right, and I would echo what the other guys have said, but I would also throw out there, everyone or anyone who comes to me asking about getting involved with the 501st or any costuming organization, I would encourage them to come out and be a handler. Come to the armor parties. Always start off when anyone asks me about joining. First thing I ask them is, do you have a favorite character? And I take the journey from there. And so, encourage them, look at the CRLs, look at the boards, we all, like certain costumes, but is that the best costume for me? Whatever, my body type or, or things that aren't good for my back, steer clear from, things of that nature, before making that kind of investment. And, and I would also, some people feel like, they have to get a costume right away just to join, and it might not be the costume they want. And I would discourage anyone from doing that. If there's, if you want to be a scout trooper, and that's, your favorite thing in the whole world, don't feel like you have to spend, the couple $100 to, be tie reserve just to get that number designation. It's worth, saving that money to get what you really want. But come out and be a handler, be trooper support, and also have a better idea for what we do and what the costumes are capable of and what goes into making them.
Yeah, jumping in on that one, you mentioned the armor parties. Don't go at it by yourself. Talk to us.
Yes.
All the clubs have people that will help you. Armor parties are a lot of fun. Totally agree. Go be a squire, go be a handler. Come see what this thing is called trooping. Nobody's gonna lie to you. It's hard work. It can be hard work, and it may or may not be for you. So don't go spend $500, $1,000, $2,000 for a costume, and then you not like it. And on the Saber Guild side, we practice every week. Come and see if this is something you want to do before you go spend a lot of money on combat sabers and costumes to go do that. And we're welcoming. Come have fun with us. You don't need to bring it in, just bring yourself. And totally on board with that. Go to the armor parties, come squire with us, come to practice. We're here to help you and welcome you to the family.
Yeah, absolutely. Once the armor parties are back up and running, definitely go to those. Mm-hmm. Like that's how you meet the people and get the feel of, what each organization is all about.
Yeah. And at the armor parties, somebody mentioned, I think it was Chris, that you learn a new skill. There are people, when you go to the armor parties, there are people in Northern Virginia that they are really good at armor making. They can teach you how to heat up and shape armor. And it's a skill a lot of people don't have. We have some awesome seamstresses in the area, in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Some people that can teach you how to sew something. You may have never operated a sewing machine, but 30 minutes with them, you could be making your own tunics. So take advantage of the skills that we have in the clubs to teach you those new skills.
Fantastic. Well, everyone. So at this time, I'd like to open the floor for our Twitch viewers to submit any questions that they may have for any of us. But I really want to thank you guys for taking the time out of your schedules and helping to participate in this panel. I think it's been a real great help showing people not just, you know, what's in store, but also, you know, showing us what we can do, you know, what we can do when times like this occur. Had it been, you know, had things been different, I'm sure a lot of us, you know, would be out in person, you know, hanging out, you know, doing troops together. But obviously 2020 has had different ideas. And I think it's, you know, forced us to look for alternatives in what we can do, not just for ourselves, but also the community. And with that, and with all that being said, if there is nothing else, I believe this would be a good time to wrap things up, unless if there's anything else, if there are any final words from any of you gentlemen, feel free.
Now, look forward to seeing everybody at InfernoCon, October 2nd through the 4th.
Yep. Yeah. So like Dave said, the main con will be October 2nd through the 4th. October 2nd and the 3rd will be the main panels. And then October 4th will be a special photo shoot that will be live streamed. And also will be a very special surprise. We're not going to give away what it is, but I think you all are going to like it. So we do have a question from my source. Who do you think is, so the question is, who was the most underrated Star Wars character and why?
Jar Jar.
Jar Jar. Why Jar Jar?
Well, I think this probably applies more to people who are not like huge fans of Star Wars, and like we are, but you know, people, you know, criticize that character and whatnot. But if Jar Jar gave us the Empire, he's the one who put the motion forward for the vote for things to get in motion. So you know, I think he's an unsung hero for us.
Well, watching the movie, like he didn't send the motion, he only proposed. So
Revolution starts with one man, and this was Jar Jar.
Well, Jar Jar's not a man, he's a Gungan.
Jar Jar.
Speciesist.
Not a man, he's a Gungan. There's the quote of the night.
Yeah.
Anakin's a person.
Yes. Fine. All right. Dave, how about you? What do you think's the most underrated Star Wars character?
Wow, I actually don't know how to top Jar Jar. I look, the only other thing that's coming to mind would be like a tauntaun that, you know, kept lukewarm, right? I mean, but I don't think I can top Jar Jar.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Jar Jar is a good answer. Unless Randy or Chris think they can top it.
I'm going to jump in there and I'm going to say Wedge Antilles. Okay. We all know
greatest star pilot in the rebellion.
He is the only pilot in the rebellion that has 2 Death Star splashes painted on the side of his X-Wing.
And he saved Luke Skywalker's bacon in episode 4.
He did, and he helped take out a walker in episode 5.
Yep. And
wasn't Wedge also a founding member of Rogue Squadron?
He was. He was also active at the Battle of Jakku.
Yep.
If you follow in the books.
And Exegol.
Yep.
And he founded, what was it, Phantom Squadron?
Was it Phantom Squadron? Yeah, it was Phantom Squadron. And also remember, he ended up marrying Nora Wexley, who is whose mother?
Snaps.
Snap Wexley.
They just did so little with him in the movies. They had so much more with Snap in the books and did so little in Solo with Snap in the movies.
That
Yeah, he's in Squadrons too. At least,
Yep.
and Hera too. It looks like Hera Syndulla's in it too.
Yep. She's in it. Sloane's in it.
Hmm.
They're throwing in a whole bunch of people. Yeah. And I remember like when I was little, like playing Rogue Squadron, like you play the entire game as Luke, and then the one final mission you play as Wedge, which I thought was kind of cool. That mission was hard though. I don't know if you guys ever played Rogue Squadron.
I did. I remember that game.
Yep. I always had trouble with taking out the ties, like the way that they would fly around, like always so hard to get. All right. Yep. So, are there any other underrated characters that we might be missing? I don't know. I don't think so. The only other one I could think of would be Wilro Hood. I mean,
Yes, he saves the ice cream maker.
there we go. I mean, with all
This is my inflatable one that I bought from the Wilro Hood detachment so I could fly to Anaheim.
yeah, I mean, there's always the dedicated Wilro Hood run, so there's got to be something to him.
I am not gonna lie. I absolutely love the fact that when the Mandalorian was presented, all the Beskar, it was in that container.
Did you watch the gallery on Disney Plus where they talked about the making of? The last episode of the gallery, they talked about all the little things. They talked about the Wilro Hoods and the Camtono. That was also the part where they talked about the 501st that was filmed in that scene. But they completely talked about why they put that in there and Wilro, and they showed the running of the hoods in Chicago.
I saw that part and I actually laughed out loud. My family did not understand why.
Yep. And just remember what you need is the ice cream maker, an orange jumpsuit, and a very thick mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, it's a lot of fun to run as Wilro. The funniest story was we were running at AwesomeCon in DC, and there was probably 20 of us maybe that were running from the area. And this random guy in a Deadpool cosplay jumped in and started running with us. And then we get to the end and we all like bombard the ice cream guy, which is what we do. We always go to find ice cream. And this guy as Deadpool goes, "Hey, what's this all about? I just started running with you." And I was like, that's so Deadpool.
It's just like Forrest Gump, where they see Forrest running and people just follow him. Yeah.
Ones is go look at like the videos of like Celebration. You'll always see one or two guys running with a hotel coffee pot because they couldn't get their ice cream maker to Celebration. So they're running with whatever they have. And there's always like one or two running with a hotel room coffee maker.
Yeah, no, once cons get back into motion, like I'd love to see another Wilro Hood run.
We'll run it.
Yep. Well, gentlemen, thank you again so much. Unless if there's any other viewer questions that we may have missed.